Welcome, everybody. I'm Tina Malsom. This is Kelly Vincent. We are joined by Cowrie and Jenny Thompson, Vince and Tina D'Angelo, the six of us, first U.S. participants in the APL Summer Academy Survivor 5-day adventure. This is their fourth event and the third event, or the first event that had a U.S. team, which had its own unique challenges, but we're gonna pull up some slides and show you guys some pictures and do some explaining about what happened to us over the last 5 days.
While you're pulling that up, I want to acknowledge your guys' shirts. I think it's amazing that you're putting those on, and I hope that they smell better.
They were washed and I was ready to rip it to shreds, and I said, okay, one more time. One more
I
time.
love it. That's awesome.
The polos surprisingly washed up really well. The t-shirts, I don't know about those, but
So this was us when we arrived at what was it, 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning at the Panama sign as instructed, the beginning of our adventure.
This is when the games began.
yes.
Yes, and this was the whole group. The whole group, every one of the contestants, participants, I don't know, what do we call them? Participants?
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is kind of when we realized, holy crap, we might be in trouble because no one else speaks English.
Right. You'll see there's 42 people there, and 6 people there have English as a first language, maybe 3 or 4 English, maybe as a second language. That was it.
Yeah.
And I think that's when people started to divide and separate a little bit, because a lot of them know each other. Though it was a large Moldova team. I believe it was 9 from Moldova, 15 from Russia. Was it 2 from Bulgaria?
Yep.
Was it 2 or 4 from Germany?
Right.
Something like
Yep.
that. And 2 from New York?
Yes.
Correct.
Or no, I think it was only 1.
From
New York.
Inuka.
Yes. Inura.
Inura was from New York, and also
Well,
airport.
No dare.
There.
Oh, Nadir. That's right. So 2.
Yeah, so there was a few of us from the US, which was nice, and we got very lucky to be our roommates were the Bulgarian, the 2 from Bulgaria, who also spoke English. So that was kind of our this is how it started. You guys want to talk about this?
Yeah.
This was the best part of the whole 5 days.
I was thinking, hey, this is not so bad.
Yeah.
This is where the island we're on. I'm all for it. I thought it was really cool that 2 of the previous survivors who actually won the show sent us video messages.
Yeah.
Good luck, you guys, and gave us some tips, and that was really cool.
And I believe the Russian winner as well, the Russian survivor.
Yeah. And this is when Sergey introduced his team. How many were on his production and his staff team?
Oh my goodness. It seemed like there was like 1 staff for every associate. So I'm guessing there was probably at least 40 people.
Yeah.
Constantly surrounding us, either cameramen, photographers, corporate supervisors, medics. It was pretty intense.
Yep.
Oops. And then after this, we were having a great time, relaxing, when Sergey yelled out, what? How many minutes do you have to put everything you brought into this? And he called it a backpack.
Oh, I have it. Grab it.
They told us they'd be giving us a backpack. Remember that?
Right here.
And that's what it was. I'm like, it's not a backpack.
It's like this little tiny thing that like kids carry around.
Yeah.
And I believe the sides of mine split completely open.
Yeah. Yeah, we were shoving everything in it. We brought our suitcase of survivor stuff and all the clothes and things we thought we'd need. And we had to leave like half of it behind. It was crazy.
And
Um,
TD brought her own, like an entire treasure chest of essay drops, cut up, ready to go, and was a great supplier for everyone.
yeah.
And then we had to have, Felix had to smuggle them on the island for us because nothing fit in that little drawstring bag. We were like, Felix, please.
I know. It's like, we can't live without our drops. That's just a given. Like he's like, okay.
Yeah. And just when we were enjoying the scenery and where we were, this happened.
Mm,
We saw these helicopters and we were like, huh. It wasn't one bringing Sergi in. It was like eight of them. And we were like, well, Sergi doesn't need 8, so something's happening that we probably are unaware of.
Yeah.
Yep.
Helicopter showed up.
Yeah, I didn't know. We were all trying to figure out what was happening. And then I thought, well, maybe there's just that much crew and cameramen and people that they had to transport over there. Of course, we didn't understand anything that was going on because we didn't understand the language. And Felix was running around, taking items from people because everybody was complaining that we couldn't fit it all in our bag. And so it was pretty much chaos that first moment. And Sergi said, you have 3 minutes to get everything in your bag and let's go. And, it was like, oh man, I guess it's on, here we go.
So
I want to paint a picture too. It's hot. I mean, I don't know if the picture tells the story, but we're about 95% humidity. We're about 85 degrees. So it's really hot down there. And you just can't stand around. Everything's wet and muggy, and it starts to take a toll on your body. So at this point, I think we had drinking our coconuts. We were thinking about the challenge ahead, how serious these guys were, because the seriousness of this event began to unfold when instructions came. Here's what you can do. Here's what you can't do. You have 10 minutes to get ready and we're going. So that kind of set the early tone.
And then they separated the boys from the girls. The boys went to the helicopters. The girls were taken to these boats, and we were carrying all of our husband and spouses and partners. All the boys' stuff was with us. So we're lugging all this stuff onto these boats. And they pull up at this island at the bottom left, at this island. And we're looking at it going, it looks pretty deserted. Like it doesn't look good. And Sergi gets out. We sit there for a few minutes and he says, you have 3 hours to collect food, set up camp, and build a fire. Go. And we were all like, we have to what? Right? We were like, no way. I know.
And I think at this point, it's worth saying that our Russian friends got busy.
Yeah.
I was so shocked at, they were literally tearing down branches, palm tree branches, and collecting coconuts and like green bananas.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a massive plan, and we don't speak English. So I literally just sat there and went, I don't know what's to do. I mean, I was kind of at a loss. And I remember looking around, almost ready to cry. I felt like, we were getting yelled at by Russians, just that's how they talk, I've learned. But one of the cute girls on this team, her name is Desi. She came up to me and she goes, I speak English. I'm happy to translate for you. And she could see that I was in distress. So she did that, and that helped a lot.
Yeah. And Vince and I, we just tried to find a couple palm trees so we could put up our hammocks, because that's all we could think of is we're going to have to sleep on this island.
Yeah.
So we better start figuring out like shelter and everything. So it was kind of like we all kind of separated and we're kind of doing our own little thing, but I think we were all just panicking, right? Like total panic mode.
And then there was this, and the Russian, what we've learned since is that when Russian ladies talk, they sound like they're angry and yelling at you, but they're not. That's just the way they talk. So we just sat there, like Jenny said, almost in tears because we thought, are they like angry with us? I don't know what they're saying. And then Kelly kept noticing this one group of women with the
There's a lean-to bunch of branches tied together already. And all I thought was, great, we got a roof. All we got to do is put palm fronds on it. We got cover because it looked like it was going to rain. There's clouds, looked like it was storm clouds coming. And then there was 4 of them that were taking it apart, moving it to 5 different places. I literally was kind of laughing because I was like, what are they doing? And I'm like, that was perfectly good, just the way it was, in case we need to, I found a tarp on the island, or a piece of plastic that could be used as a tarp. And that was the most valuable thing, I thought, because if it rains, we could be out of it. And then we could use that for the rest of it, even if we held it over our heads so we wouldn't freeze. And it was pretty much chaos. Kari and I went right to the fire, trying to figure out how to start a fire.
Well, luckily about 3 hours went by and Sergey came back, and it was, I don't know what he said in Russian, but I'm guessing it was something like, ha ha, fooled you, because that was not where we ended up staying. The boats came back. He said, you have 5 minutes to grab everything you brought and get in the boats.
Yeah.
And half of us were jumping in the boats without our stuff. And then somebody said in English, no, bring your stuff. And then somebody else said, no, don't bring your stuff. Like pure chaos. So we grabbed all our stuff. We jumped in these boats and they took us to the actual island that we stayed at, which is this one at the top. It did have little huts for us. They were basically just wood, bamboo, and leaves or wood on the top, and they sand on the floor. But at least it was something. They did give us a little tiny, like a thin blow-up mattress and a blanket. Not that we needed it. It was 98 degrees out the whole time, but it was nice.
It made a good pillow.
And they gave us a towel. I'm like, okay, that was nice. So we did have some place to stay. And the first thing we did is put our stuff in our rooms, set up our little camp, start the fire. Tina, what were you thinking at this point?
We were like one of the last people to get the actual pump that blew up the mattress. So each team only got 1 pump, and there's how many people on a team? Like 21 people.
Right.
And our pump on our team broke. So none of us that had mattresses could blow ours up until the other team was finished. I remember staying up till like 12:30 waiting for that pump because I was not going to sleep on the hard ground. Like, I think Vince tried and he didn't make it very long, but it's just one of those things where you're like the comfort, right? Like, please, I just want to go to bed. Like, I just want to sleep.
And what's crazy is it wasn't like, oh, why don't you guys enjoy yourselves tonight? We'll get started in the morning. It was, we had what, an hour and something, 40 minutes or so. And then it was right to the first challenge.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note when we were going to sleep that night, we didn't eat. We were starving.
We didn't have dinner.
Yeah, I had a headache. The headache had set in.
Yeah.
It was really intense. And I know that the air mattresses were complete luxury. And the funny thing is, and I think you guys have heard this as well, but Felix said, I just knew that the Americans were coming and we had to provide a little bit more comfort than we normally do. And I was like, wow, we are really something, these Americans.
We did have a bathroom and a shower, sort of,
If you want to call it a shower.
when it worked.
Sprinkler.
That's when we found out that this is what we were competing for. We were divided into 2 teams, the Black Pearl and the Rising Sun, which we started mimicking a day into it. And we were competing for individual totems that you see here, but also this, each challenge had a coin. And the person at the end, the team at the end with the most coins was the winner of the yacht cruise with Sergey on the last day we were in town. And the winner of the totems was going to be the winner of the Tesla on the very last day. So right away, we had our team, we cut our shirts, made ourselves look a little bit more unique than everybody else and got right to it with our first challenge.
And thank goodness you brought the scissors. I was so grateful. And by the way, part of this call, I know, or Zoom meeting, is in hopes that we can inspire English speaking team to join us next time, because it would be way fun to have just English. It would be great to have just English. I mean, we want Russian too, or anybody, but I just want English to be like the first thing.
Absolutely. I think one of the coolest things about the challenges was that each one had a little lesson attached to it. Sergi would come out and give us a lesson about teamwork, about persistence, about staying consistent, about patience. You know, each event had a different takeaway from it, and it was really cool.
I love that too, because you start to think about it while you're doing the challenge, like, how is this parallel to what I'm going through in my business? And I love that it wasn't just a challenge, you know, like a survivor challenge. It actually had something to do with personal growth and getting out of our comfort zones. And really, that's what Sergey wanted us to do. Like, that was the whole point. He wasn't going to make it easy, right? And nothing in business is easy, but that strong parallel was there. So if you kind of stood back and watched, which I did a lot of observing, you could really start thinking about how this relates to business in so many levels. I really love that.
So the biggest, I think, bonus for our team was that Tina and I knew just about 98% of every one of the challenges, because they were right off of Survivor in, you know, one of the 40 seasons they had. And so that was a bonus. So I looked at Tina and said, woohoo, you know, we're going to crush this. We're going to dominate, because I know the challenges, so do you. Then we said that to Tina and Vince and Kari and Jenny. And then we went, yeah, but only 6 of us. I could only tell 4 more people. And they were like, how are we going to relay the information to the rest of the team? And that was the challenge, because they all talked to each other and we were talking to each other, and Sergi would give the instructions, and even the English translation of the instructions was not that clear. It was heavy accented. I mean, you know, even when Felix translates, sometimes it doesn't always translate over. And so I knew how it worked, and so did Tina, and we relayed that to Vince and Tina and Kari and Jenny. But the challenge was relaying that to the rest of the team, which were Germans, Bulgarians, and Russians. And we're like, how are we going to do this? Because then Sergi said, go. And
Well, and a lot of the times we were like, wait. And he would say, do you have a question? And all the English speakers would raise their hand, because none of us knew what was happening the first day. Like, I would go with like half the time. And then he said, okay, so he went a little slower, and then he would let the English translate. The problem was that while the English was being translated to us, the other team was strategizing which people were going to do what jobs. And then the minute the English translation was done, he would say, go. So we had no time to strategize who on the team was. And because they all knew each other and they had actually done the summer academies together before, and we had not, we just didn't know how fast and how, you know, rigorous it was going to be. And we didn't know which people on our team had certain skills, and they already knew who on their team was the fastest, who had the best balance, who was great at the puzzles. Like, we had to figure it out as we went along. That was really the first challenge for us, was the language barrier.
These are super great points. And I'm noticing the comments. A lot of people are saying, hey, let's just learn Russian. And I think that's a brilliant idea. I would love to learn Russian. We have 2 years to learn, people, so let's do it. But having said that, what Tina is saying still creates a delay. And I really believe that if, for example, if we had an English team against a Russian team, that would be so cool. That would be so fun.
That would be awesome. Kauri, you want to talk about the first tribal council?
Yeah, I think one of the things I think people are realizing is that this is a really high production value event, meaning when we told some of our neighbors are going to Survivor, they kind of just pictured us camping in the woods, telling stories around the campfire. It wasn't. It was a very highly organized, high production event. Every detail was thought of before this event. For instance, when we got to the tribal council, to get there, we had to embark on boats about 7 p.m. at night, 6 or 7 boats full of people. And when you got to the place where we're going, it's 40 minutes in the dark in the ocean on a boat to get there. Once we got there, which is the Portobello little harbor there, we were issued these torches, and we had to light the torches and actually walk into the council area where all the cameras were set up. So I just want everybody to know that the atmosphere here was a serious atmosphere. It's an atmosphere of competition, high value production. And keep in mind, we've been in the sun all day at this point. Our bodies are not used to the humidity. We weren't used to all electrolytes out of our systems. And when you exhaust yourself, I saw a comment about going to the gym. I've been going to a CrossFit gym for 7 years, so I can take the grind, but I've never worked out completely dehydrated and lack of food. We didn't eat, I think, until the 3rd day. And I'm not kidding. And so try doing that with no sleep, because the jungle is unforgiving at night. Try doing it when you're exhausted. There's not a lot of water. If you don't bring water, you're done. And with all the stress and the physical output that's required for these events. So by the time we got to these tribal councils, we were so exhausted, and the cameras were there and rolling. And it was a really neat experience every night to be able to be there with everyone.
Yeah, by the way, along with the divide of the language, you remember exactly, it was the guides were trying to rev our team up, and they were saying in their best English, let the games begin, or it was
We are
longer
here
than
to
that.
win. Let the tournament
No.
begin.
Did Kari, do you remember the whole sentence? It wasn't a catchy one.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was something they took off of Google Translate. They were trying, the guy that read the English instructions to us, the problem he had is he doesn't understand what he's saying. He's just reading it. So we didn't know where one sentence ended and another started. It's kind of like being in a prison camp with a guard from another country yelling at you. It was pretty funny that way.
So the first day it went from let the games begin, we are here to win, and we got an F on that the entire time, because it sounded like and nobody did it on time. I mean, it ended up being easier because we just figured out maybe 2 words, let's go, let's go, let's go. And then they did it in Russian. How do you say it? Spirat, forward, forward, forward.
Yeah.
Or just rising sun, rising sun, rising sun, because forget it. To complete an entire sentence together was darn near impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, they would finish with because if I said one sentence, that's like 6 sentences in Russian.
Yeah.
Because the explanation for even some of the events was this long in Russian, and then in English, it was like, okay, you jump over this, go over there, and then you hit the flag and you're done. And I'm like, how come it took that long to explain something that only took this long? But that's just how it is. That's how it was. So it was we couldn't even get our team together on the chant.
Yeah.
The first
Day 1 was rough. And then day 2, so they divided it 4 days. Day 1 was air, and then earth, and then day 3 was water, and then fire day. So this was day 2, Earth Day, and it poured rain, and it poured rain, and it poured rain until Sergi showed up, and then somehow the skies cleared open. I don't know what happened. But this was one of the gals. Her name was Desi. She was on our team. She was a roommate from Bulgaria, cutest little thing ever. And she spoke English. She was a lifesaver for us, just a lifesaver. And her I guess her sponsor. They were wonderful people, and they shared the most amazing product testimonies I've ever heard in my whole life. Like my mouth was on the floor. I couldn't believe some of the things. And that was the challenging part, is I was like, I just want to talk to people. I want to hear the stories. How did they build their business? Tell me about the product. And we did get some time for that, but not as much as we wanted.
Yeah.
This was a fun challenge. I thought this one was great. How tall was that second wall?
It was a good 10 feet.
10 feet high. We had to scale walls, climb down ropes, pull a treasure chest across this like really rickety track. A lot of them were really physical, like really physical. Some of them only some teammates participated in, and others were the entire team. And those were the ones I think that were the most challenging, because everybody had to do something, and we still at this point didn't know who was good at what. So we just all kind of jumped in and tried to survive it.
Plus, they explained everything in centimeters and meters.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like we could even get inches and feet and understand heights. And I don't use centimeters or meters too often. I know what it is, but you just don't use it that often. Vince did. I mean, I think you.
Well, luckily I brushed up on my metrics and English conversion, so I kind of knew what was going on.
Tina, why don't you tell us about this picture?
Oh, so, I actually just thought I was just going to get a little mud on me, and then that was it. And then everybody was just diving in this mud bog and throwing mud on their hair. And I mean, these Russians are serious about winning. They'll do whatever it takes. And Tina Malsom, she came up with this great idea, because a lot of us were wearing like these sports bras. So she's like, just throw a bunch of mud inside that sports bra and like carry it over to the bucket. And so that's pretty much what I did. And then I just glopped it on my hair, and I had these braids, and it was so disgusting. But it's so funny because the other team, they were totally 100% serious about winning, like every challenge. And even everything that we were doing, I think we tied on this one. Like we were even and even. So, I mean, people were putting it in their pants. I think one lady, didn't she put a bunch of dirt in her, or mud in her mouth and spit it out?
Yep, she did. So the point was, you go in the mud, pack as much mud on you as possible, then you go up the stairs, and you have to
just spray a banana.
you have to empty all the mud into the bucket, and then they weigh the buckets, our team against their team. So,
Yeah, Vince and I did this one together, and we strategized the plan. And I've seen this on Survivor Panama season 12. So they put it, the guy who won had it in his hair, and he kept loading it up in his hair. So that's what I did. I loaded it in my hair, it falling down my face. And we got as much of that on there. That was definitely pretty muddy.
you know what we didn't talk about was the challenge the first day with the oil.
Oh,
That was flat out mean.
I'm so glad I didn't do that one.
Oil? Oh, Jenny might be having.
No, I'm here, but I didn't hear that question. What did you say?
We didn't talk about the first day with the oil.
Oh. Oh my gosh, that feels like a million years ago. Yeah, like go get your swimsuits on, and then you completely lather yourself in oil, Wesson oil, and then you slide down this mat, grab a ball, like you have to compete against your opponent for the ball, and then you have to run up to the hoop that's probably 8 feet away and get it in the hoop. And it was so difficult to get it in the hoop. That was one thing that looked easy, wasn't easy at all.
Well, plus we were oily, the ball was oily, it was hard to even keep your footing at that point, and you're trying to get the ball in, and the oil didn't come off. No matter what you did, everything was oily from that point forward. Until we got in the mud.
Needless to say, my sleeping bag stayed there on the island because I did not take it. It was ruined the first night. And so was my trunks, so was everything else I had. It did not come off.
I think this was Cowrie's favorite challenge of the day. You want to talk about that?
Not really, but I will. So this is a labyrinth that the production crew made, and you can see the entrance right there. And the idea was that the team would go in there one at a time and circle through the labyrinth and come out. And we're timed on how quickly our team of 21 or so people could get through that labyrinth one at a time. In the labyrinth, there were frogs, there were mice, there were rats, there were snakes. And so the idea is to get through it and get out quickly. So for me, personally speaking, I didn't grow up with snakes. There are no snakes in Hawaii. And so I don't like them. I don't like touching them. I don't like them looking at me. So my plan was to breathe. Like I always tell myself when I'm under a lot of heavy physical stress, I start breathing patterns to relax my body. And I always tell myself, you're doing great. That's what I do. So before I went in there, I knew what was going to be in there. And I was like, Cowrie, just breathe. You're going to be great. You're doing great. So I get in there, I start going around the corner, and then my game plan went right out the window. And I saw that big old python, like sitting on like a little stair, just looking at me with its forked tongue coming out. And I almost made a hole through the other side of that structure. Anyway, long story short, I came out, I saw daylight. I was running full speed about 3/4 of the way through it. And I hit that wall and I took down the whole net. But it was really crazy. For me, that was a difficult one. For some people, it wasn't so bad.
Cowrie came out of it like Indiana Jones. Like he made the best exit ever. He had the netting in his hair and he was like zooming out of there, somersaulting out. But yeah, this big python was actually on a perch that you had to step over. And I have short legs. And I was like, if that thing touches my skin, I'm out. Like, done.
And I was arguing with the captain because I wanted to go last because I wanted to take that Felix is holding me. It's a red-tailed Colombian boa. Harmless as could be, but I love snakes. So I'm like, I want to pull that out with me and put it around my neck. But I didn't get to go last, but I actually stopped just to see what was in there but they had actually spiders, a ton of spiders in there and other bugs as well.
I'm glad I didn't
I
know.
just think that nobody saw them because it was a little dark and there was a little sunlight that could come through the top of that. But
Kelly told me they were in cages. Which is good, because if he had not said that, I probably would have chickened out. And you only get the coin if everybody does it together. If one person chickens out, the whole team loses. So you're letting your team down by not participating,
Yeah.
Which in real life, when you have a team of people all heading towards the same goal and one team or one group stops participating, you're, letting down the group. So that's how they, paired it with network marketing and how network marketing groups work, because you don't want to be the one to let everybody else down by not pulling your weight on the team. So I turned around and told Jenny that I thought the snakes were dead. I said, I don't think they're alive. Just do it. So then she jumped in, but you could hear her screaming from the outside of it. So that was pretty funny.
Felix
And
and
they
I,
made us hold GoPros too. So we had to hold something in our hand as we're running around in there as well. So it was a little challenging.
I don't think any of us liked this challenge.
we somehow dominated this challenge. And I say somehow because, okay, out of all the challenges, this one I didn't want to do. A, because I've done it before and I know what it tastes like. And B, there's just no way I'm going to eat a cockroach. I'm just not going to do it. And I have to give credit to Tina here and Tina and Jenny. Oh,
First was that one.
yeah, the one on Sergi's right hand, your left, was the one I think Tina.
I think that was the one Jenny had.
Jenny had, and I was gagging watching them do it. I was hiding in the back, hoping that they would have the smaller ones or something different, which wasn't necessarily the case, but it was not good. This was just not good. I don't think anybody really jumped up there wanting to do that. But as Tina said, you had to pull your own weight and you didn't want to let down the team. And I ended up swallowing 2 gigantic live mealworm looking things. And I just did it so fast I didn't even taste it. But I know Kari, I can't remember Kari.
He had a worm, a live worm.
That's
So I had a worm that was like 2.5 inches, 3 inches long. And as soon as I picked it up, it wrapped itself around my fingers, which freaked me out. So I didn't want to swallow it alive because I don't want worms in my body. So I squished its head until the juices popped out. Then when they said go, I popped it in my mouth. So just so you guys know, each team has to, the person representing each team has to put it in their mouth and swallow it or chew it and show their tongue. The first person to show their tongue to Sergey is the winner. So you're timed. It's like a race. Ready, set, stick it in your mouth and hope for the best. I did not do well on this one either. But one thing I want to point out, you guys, Sergey's a really unique individual. Obviously, he's the owner of our company, it's a network marketing company, but there's a whole different dimension to Sergey. He is an entertainer and he has a lot of charisma. And he stood here with these different plates to serve, and he would do this presentation. He was like a game show host. He's really good at what he does. So all these activities were facilitated by Sergey in a real like professional game host way that really is unheard of in our industry for a founder to do these crazy things. I was laughing and joking. No American company would ever do this stuff because of the liability. Like I wouldn't take a bunch of Americans to an island where they could get bit by snakes, you know, but Sergey doesn't care. And so just want you guys to know the atmosphere was really unique and really cool.
I think there's a video of me dry heaving on Instagram somewhere.
My cockroach escaped. So I went to pick it up and put it in my mouth and it bit my lip. So I got shocked and it came out of my mouth and tried to escape. So
I saw it running on the ground, Tina. It flew out of your mouth and it was running on the ground. She ran and grabbed it and stuck it back in her mouth. I mean, you talk about taking it to the team.
You actually stepped on it with your shoe.
I did. I
Stop it.
That's what you do when you see a cockroach in.
And then she grabbed it. It was all squished, the guts, and she grabbed it and threw it in her mouth. Like it was the craziest thing I ever seen.
I want to kind of segue into Jenny. Jenny's little critter here was really big. It took her a good 3 minutes to chew it. So we're swallowing stuff. And I've seen Jenny swallow a balut, which is a Filipino, it's an egg that's like ready to hatch and the Filipinos eat it. I've seen her do it in the Philippines. She had this huge bug that was dry. She had to chew on for almost like 3 minutes before she could swallow it.
It was bad. It was pretty
Yeah,
bad.
I still think about it, want to throw up. I was nauseated the entire night. That particular bug that Sergey was showing was my bug. That was the one I chewed, and it seemed that as every time I chewed, it like expanded.
Yeah.
And no saliva was being generated in my mouth. Anyway, that's probably enough of that. It's terrible.
And Sergey thought we'd all love it because we'd all been starving. So we were like in desperate need of protein. And I'm pretty sure I didn't eat dinner that night after that. Like I didn't care. It was my second night. I was like, I don't care. I'm not eating.
No, it was the next day we got a little bit of food. And every day there was a new captain. And day 3 was water day, and Kauri was the captain. And each night we would vote on who we want to be the team captain the next day. Sasha, one of the Russian gentlemen, was on day 2, and Nadir was day 1, and Kauri, this was his day. And this to me was the roughest day. It started out great. The first challenge was so fun. We got in these boats. We got to go through all these mangroves. And it was beautiful and relaxing. And then we got to jump out of the boat, and it was like battleship, sink the other person's boat before they sink your boat. And to me, that was just fun. We just had a great time. We had a little bit of strategy. And then it went downhill from there. The rest of the day was swimming, 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 swimming. It was exhausting. I don't think I've ever been so exhausted. And we had one, Vince and Kara, you want to talk about the one with the treasure chest at the bottom of the ocean?
Oh my God.
Yeah, so they had these 2 treasure chests. Each team was supposed to go and retrieve a treasure chest. And apparently they accidentally put our treasure chest at about 8 meters depth, which is about 24 feet. So the initial 3 guys that went out there, I think only Vince could hold his breath deep enough to even get to the treasure chest. So they were pulling their chests out of the water. We were still like, our chest was still 24 below. So we were able to go and help out. I came and helped out, and I've been in the ocean my whole life, so I'm really comfortable. But got down and grabbed the rope, and we ended up pulling it to shore way after the fact. We totally lost. And when we got to shore, it was full of rocks. I mean, it was full of rocks. So it was like they made it deeper than they were supposed to. And then they filled ours with rocks. So we had a couple of events there where we felt like we got the raw end of the deal. But I think Sergey's point was, first, he knew what he was doing. There was no mistakes in what they did. They put it on there for us. And I think they're trying to teach us a lesson of perseverance and not giving up when things don't go well in life. Even though if we got ripped off and gypped, which we did, it's like, so what? We've got to focus on the next challenge and move ahead. And that's exactly what we did.
Tina, you want to talk about the next one with the arm, when you had to keep your arm up so long?
Yeah, I think I volunteered for this one, and we had no clue. We were just thought something was going to fall on our heads, like in a bucket. So I think it's that's how Sergey likes to run it. He doesn't give you all the information. It's just like, go do it. And then all of a sudden they're like, telling us to hold on to an egg. And then they're tying our arm to a rope. And then they're like, you got to hold your arm up this whole time. And if you move it, this bucket falls on top of you, and you don't know what's in the bucket because everyone has something different. And so I was totally unprepared, not thinking that I was going to be holding my arm up for like how many minutes. And you think you can do it, but your arm really starts to hurt, your shoulder, even just after a few minutes. I mean, I think I held in there. I was probably about the 3rd person to go. But these Russian women, like, who's that next to me? I forgot her name. She was like stoic, right?
Natasha.
Natasha.
Yeah, Natasha. She, here's me over here going, oh, my arm. And these Russians were like total game face. They would just sit there and they wouldn't even flinch. They acted like they were no pain. And they're just an amazing group of people, like what they can do.
I just want
I
to
could
add to
add
that.
in really quickly. The Russians are shaped by adversity. Some of these people were standing in line for toilet paper not many years ago, and I'm not kidding. They're tough people. There's no socialism in their country. In other words, if you don't work, there's no checks that are going to come from the government. There's no plans for food. You don't eat. So the Russians are really, really a tough race. They have to be. And you can see it in how they think and how they communicate and how they perform. And so if you think about our business, we have a Russian owner that's used to people not complaining about anything and just working and doing everything. As Americans, we complain more, but we complain because we have different ways of doing things that are actually faster to get things done. So what I've noticed is that some of the difficulties that we have growing our business, and there's some challenges, really played out in these games. The biggest issue is communication between the Russians and us. And if you look at our business, even though it's a great business, the biggest challenges we have are communication problems. So I really saw the games playing out in real life in our actual businesses and some of the challenges that we encounter.
Well, and one of them, Cowrie, to you, we had one challenge where I guess when Sergey was explaining it, he pointed at something where our key was supposed to be hidden, and you had swum all the way from the platform back to the island, and came back with the wrong key because we weren't looking at Sergi, we were looking at Felix, who was translating it for us. And he's like, I clearly pointed at it. And we were like, what? So there was so many little missteps like
Yeah,
that.
that was a fast swim. I mean, that was work to get there. And they pointed to the wrong totem. But I get, again, Sergey's point was maybe we screwed up, but who cares? You
Right.
just do what you do and make the best of it. So
And then Vince had to do a long swim with a torch in his hand at the end. Vince, you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, so at the end, the oil was getting spilled out as we were trying to light the other beacons. So by the time I got the torch, it was dead. So we had to relight it and try to keep it. I had to move very slowly to keep the very small flame from going out. And right when I almost got to the end, it goes out, right? So I have to go back, relight it, then it goes out again. Jump back in the water. Then I just took the whole torch and started the whole torch on fire instead. So that's the only way we could get to the end with some flame on that thing to light the last beacon.
Yeah, and we barely won that one too, because we think we had this huge advantage, and then all these little mishaps would happen along the way, and the other team would totally catch up.
Well, and I think that halfway through, there was either a step that was skipped or something we didn't understand. I remember this one with the puzzle, Cowrie, at the end. Everyone knew we got the puzzle pieces, we got them into you, and then you did the puzzle. And then like halfway through the challenge, somebody's like, who's doing the puzzle? We were like, what are you talking about? So then 2 people jumped up on the platform to help. I mean, it was like that every challenge. Just
it seemed like it was working against us. And we think we were missing a part of that
yeah.
puzzle. But anyway, moving on. Great. I mean, it was a really tiring day. I think, as you said, Tina and Kelly and everybody else, day 3 was a real drain on you physically, mentally, everything. You had to really dig deep. Kelly ended up getting a Charlie horse or a really bad cramp. And when those happen, they hurt. And it's because of dehydration. Doesn't matter how much you drink sometimes. So by day 3, our bodies had been, I had slept a total of maybe 3 hours the whole camp at that point. I don't know how you guys slept, maybe better. But keep in mind, it wasn't until day 3 that we actually started eating like a full meal. I think we had oatmeal that night. And I was so happy. So it really took its toll on us.
Yeah. Well, Kelly kind of got smart on the end of day 3. Was it the end of day 3 or the beginning of day 4? Was it the beginning of day 3?
Yeah, beginning of day 3.
Tell them about the.
So the beginning of day 3, I was to the point where just over frustrated trying to communicate with the other team and our own team. And because I thought I was trying to figure out what Sergi had us going through all this for. And I thought, well, maybe it was just to build relations with everyone there. And that's why we were on a team that couldn't understand the thing we said and vice versa. So I thought, well, maybe putting our country and our name in English and our name in Russian, at least we'll know each other's names. And we could read it, they could read mine in Russian and I could read theirs in English. So at least we could call out and know somebody's name. And that worked really well. It kind of brought the team together, I think, because it broke the barrier of, we knew who was from where, because we had Germans, Bulgarians, and Russians on our team. And luckily they all spoke Russian. And we lucked out because 3 to 4 of them, 2 of them really spoke really good English, Nader and Dennis. And a few of the others were okay at translation. But it kind of bridged the gap of our own team being able to. So then I figured out, well, maybe if we could put the people that spoke both languages, they could be like the directors of the rest of the team that didn't speak English. And then by the time Sergi said go, which was very fast, we could have somewhat of a plan of how we were going to attack the challenge. I think had it not been for the language barrier, we probably would have dominated every challenge.
Well, I thought it was cool that the other team, even though the other team, they all knew each other for years, most of them for over 3 to 4 years. They saw our names on our shirts, and then they went and all put their names on their shirts, even though they already knew each other, so we would know them. And it was tough the first day. There's a Lena and a Nina and like 7 Irenas. It's like everyone's name seemed to just fall into everybody else's name, and that was tough.
Yeah, that was a really good idea. I think that's when the other team started coming over and talking with us.
Yeah.
When they could see our names, like it made us like a person, right? Like someone they could communicate with. Because even if they didn't speak our language, they could at least like say your name and wave at you, right? Or say good morning or hello. So I love that. That was a really great idea, Kelly.
And then there was some negotiations that happened. I think we realized after 3 days that the winner who had the most coins, whether some team had 20 coins and the other team had 21 coins, really the only coin that mattered was that one extra coin. So we were all holding on to these coins that the teams had won, but they had a store. And Sergi kept saying, why aren't you shopping in the store with your coins? Because no one wanted to lose their advantage, you know, of having less coins. But they had eggs in there. They had drops. They had the new Happy Drop in there. They had an iPhone,
Rice.
and they had rice, and they had
Spam.
spam. And like stuff you could buy, and none of us were buying it because we didn't want to give up our coins. So we started talking about it, and then Kelly approached the other team and said, listen, what if we spend the same amount of coins? You spend 5, we spend 5, then no one's disadvantaged. And so we bought a bunch of food and they bought a bunch of rum. We had 5 coins. And then we got to eat a little bit. That was really nice.
Yeah, and those Russian women, they know how to cook anything. Like, and they don't like the guys in their kitchen at all. Like Vince tried to go over there and help, and they got really mad at him. So he would just shine his headlamp over their cooking, you know, while they were working, and they actually really appreciated that. But nobody could come in their kitchen, like.
The funny thing, I think the funniest thing about the Russian women is that if one says one thing, it wasn't like one person would talk and everybody would listen. Everyone had to have their own opinion
At the same
at
time.
the same time. And they would argue and argue and argue. And by the 4th day, we kept saying, I know, let's just argue about it a little longer. Like, because it seemed like this consistent theme. Every challenge had to be massively over discussed.
Well, here's what I'll say, because it was great when Kari was the captain on Water Day, because for the first time I'm thinking, great. Now Kari can give directions, and I could even go to him because we knew all the challenges and tell him like, all right, you know, make Nodair or Dennis or Desi, one of the other captain of the Russian team, so she could translate it and we could crush these challenges finally. Because I couldn't go up to the other captain the day before and say the same thing, even though I knew exactly what needed to be done. It was frustrating. And then they elected me to be the captain on the 4th day, which is Fire Day. And, you know, here's the one thing, the feedback that we got from the Russians were that how organized we were. And so I figured out what the task was, what needed to happen before it happened. We already had a plan before they gave us the directions. And even though they still argued, though, that was the funny part. I said, listen, don't worry about any of the instructions. We already know what to do. You're doing this, you're doing this. But to their credit, when I was captain, the women that were doing the cooking, I went over there to try and help, and they shoot me out of there. Like, I shouldn't have, you know, how dare I step into their kitchen. And then when it came time to eat, they grabbed my arm, and Tina already got a big bowl of rice and spam or whatever it was. Trust me. By the way, it was the best bowl of whatever the heck was in there when we were eating it, because we were pretty hungry. And then I got up, I already ate half of what we were sharing. And then one of the ladies grabs my arm And I said, oh no, I already had some. I want to leave some of the other one. She yelled at somebody that was like getting a bowl so that she could fill up another bowl for me and take care of me. Like
They were awesome like
they
that.
completely went out of their way. And I'm like, oh, it's okay. I already had some. She didn't understand that. She's like, just eat up, Captain. And she patted me on the back and made me sit down. And they were very good at organizing all that. Like it was like lockstep.
Second nature to them.
They were cutting the carrots. They were, doing the, I think Jenny, probably Jenny has a little story of helping do that, but they were very good at coming together, both teams, because everybody was starving. It was day 3. We were hungry. We barely had any sustenance at all. The entire day.
Who wants to share about how Fire Day started at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Sam, you don't want to eat this?
Yeah, I'll share on that. That was rough. We were exhausted from water day. Been a long day out in the ocean. And all of a sudden, like 2 in the morning, these loud whistles started going off in the camp. And I noticed all the torch fires were lit. And all of a sudden people were yelling to come to the main center and gather. And everybody had to put their shirts on and gather there. And we were so exhausted at this point. I just thought I was having a bad dream. I didn't want to be there. I didn't know what was going on. And we got over there, then we had to march, I don't know, about 100 yards or 75, 100 yards to a campfire that was burning in the distance. And there was Sergey. And everybody had their torches. You had to carry your torch to this council, if you will. And there's this huge fire that was going on. And Sergey basically said, we're walking on coals tonight. After the longest that we'd had, we're walking on coals. And he asked everybody to remove their slippers. And I don't know about everybody else, but I was ready to do it just to go back to my tent. I was so tired. We took our slippers off. And at that point, more or less, I don't want to make this any longer than it needs to be, but Sergey basically said, thank you for trusting me that you're willing to walk through fire on the coals, but you won't be doing that tonight because this is a different type of wood. And if you do step on it, there's nobody's going to save you. It will pierce your skin. So that was really, really a lot of psychology, if you will, and a lot of posturing, but it really, these were designed, these challenges to kind of mess with your mind, to kind of challenge you and to get you really thinking about everything.
Yeah. So this one was another team building challenge where we had to race in couples. We were handcuffed in couples by ropes. We had to race across this bamboo platform to this pig that was dangling. And we had to take bites of meat off the pig and carry it back to the bucket and spit it into the bucket. And the team with the bucket that weighed the most won the pig, which we actually all ended up sharing at the end of the day. But that was a great one. Watching Cowrie and his partner try to, and what was it, a rot?
No.
Sasha? No.
It was Irot.
It was
And I'm
that
going to tell you, I was thinking about making this my Facebook profile picture. I've got pig grease in my hair. And I've got pig grease all over my shirt. We actually bit the pig's neck off and carried the head in our mouths to get the more weight. But man, I gotta tell you, it tasted really good. I'm not gonna lie, it tasted really good. I didn't want to spit it out.
Sorry, you really got the bigger one on that one, bigger piece, and you even the other team tried to steal that one away from you, and hung in there with it.
Yeah, this was a challenge based on a Chinese board game. I don't know anything about this, but Vince seemed to know the strategy of how to get this one accomplished from the minute they started. Vince,
Yeah, so what you had to do is move one step at a time, either forward, to the right, to the left, and you had to try to pick up as many squares as you can without getting blocked by another team member from the opposite team. So, yeah, unfortunately, we lost that one, but I think by the end, everybody understood how to play it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was a very strategic. Towards the end, it seemed like more of the games were strategic. They had a memory game. They had a building game. They had these little blocks, and you had to build as tall as you could, but there was no instructions. So I thought it was interesting that he gave one instruction with 10. Every group of 10 that went up has a totally different interpretation of what it meant. And yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, there were so many. I mean, we would do like 10 in a day, and I can't even remember them all. That's how many we do. They would just back to back. And remember the one we walked out up the trail like we thought we were going on a hike. Then we ended up on some cliff rocks, and they want us to balance Russian coins on top of a sword. I mean, things were just so random. We're like, what are we doing up here?
Yeah, there was one that had this wall of food, and then they gave us a bunch of darts and 3 chances. And if your dart didn't hit the food, you didn't get any. That was disappointing. And we all shared like 5 pieces of fruit at the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one was interesting. It was a dice game. If you roll the dice and you beat your partner, you get food. If you don't, you don't.
But it wasn't good food. I mean, for me, it wasn't.
Yeah, Denny seemed to enjoy whatever it was she was eating.
It was like really weird seafood and like boiled frogs and
It's fried oysters, it was calamari, it was mussels and clams and jumbo shrimp. It wasn't all that bad.
and octopus and
Calamari.
Somebody that doesn't eat seafood, right, Tina?
oh yeah. I think I actually skipped out on that one. I don't know if you guys know, but Nadir went twice.
Yeah.
I told him to go for me again. I was like, I ate a bug though, but I wouldn't eat that.
That's funny, actually. Priorities, right? You were so hungry on bug night. I don't blame you. So one of the islands that we were on, Ghost Island, there was 2 islands that were about 40 minutes away, and then 5 minutes apart from each other. And they were old forts that were built to protect, that pirates they protected through these forts, and they had cannons on them. They were actually really cool. And on the last day, one of our challenges was on one of these islands. So they put us in these boats, and we went 40 minutes away, and we got there a little early, and we had about 15, 20 minutes to just spend time with each other and get to know each other. And so this gal on the, let's see, the picture of the 4 gals, and I'm the second one over, and she's on the end with the jean shorts. She's the gal in one of our videos who has made the most income in a single week in our company ever, right? Was it like 290,000 euros?
It's 221,000 euros in a week. Her name is Helena. And somebody asked a question earlier, were any females elected captain?
Yeah.
Helena was up to be elected. She was one of the choices when Kelly got the nod. But yeah, and I would say this, and I want to be respectful of Russian culture. The Russian culture is very machismo. It's like the guys that do the vodka, it's everything like that. So the women sometimes aren't as actively promoted, but here was a really powerful leader right with us. And we didn't even know until day 4 that, by the way, she's the highest paid, highest check in the company. And if you really studied her, she would meditate, she was laser focused, and she won a ton of the awards or the trophies every night because she was so good at what she did. So she was really fun to watch.
These are one of our favorite 2 people. Up at the top left was Dennis and his mama. I don't know her name. She just became known as Mama to everybody. But it's cool watching a mom and her son working together in the business, having a great adventure like this. They were from Germany. Dennis spoke like 5 languages, English being one of them. So that was very fortunate for us. And this was us waiting. Of course, you all know Felix. And this was the gentleman who was reading the English for us. Translation. Vlad. He was awesome. They were all awesome. The crew was pretty incredible, I would say, through the whole thing. And this was our second to last challenge on that island.
I I think we're a frame behind, Tina.
We're what?
I think we're a frame behind you.
Are you seeing the group photo in front of the challenge with the yellow and the
Sprockets.
sprockets behind us?
Now we are.
Yeah, okay. So that was the second to last challenge. That was a tough loss. We thought we were ahead the whole time, and then we lost that one, and that was, we were pouting. By that point, I was pouting for sure.
I was pouting the whole time.
So Antoinette asked a question. She said, who chose the teams? The teams were chosen by Sergey and his staff. They were chosen based on personality and leadership qualities.
I thought we had an amazing team. Blessed, totally blessed. We got to know the guys that were driving the boat, driving us everywhere, all over the place in the boats. And then this was the final tribal council. The final tribal council was the last challenge. And they gave us 3 boards that had a number 1, a number 2, and a number 3. They handed them to 3 people on each team. And then they started asking us questions. And before the translation was even hardly over, he would say some word and we were supposed to turn over the correct answer to his question. And one of the questions was, Ingolov Derishnikov, some guy who works in our corporate office, has a dream. What is it? And I was like, oh, dude, like there's 0 chance we are going to win this challenge. And they were asking us about ingredients in our skincare. And I was like, this is no bueno. We're going to lose so bad. But then they evened it out a bit by asking a question. They said, what was Kelly's answer on the original survey that they sent us all on what he expected to find on the island? The answer was total chaos. Yeah, so we ended up losing this challenge, but we didn't lose by more than, we lost by 2 rungs. And at that point, they burned our skeleton. Our skeleton fell to the ground first, but we still had 3 more coins than they did, and we won the final challenge. The final victory went to Rising Sun, which was amazing. And this was on the premises where Sergey was telling us stories about where the pirates defended what they had on these islands. And I didn't notice it at first, but the picture at the top has ghosts in it. And there was a lot of pirates that were hung on this island. And that Ioana pointed that out when I posted it online, and it was kind of freaky when we looked up close and realized there were ghosts hovering above us during these challenges. So that was the final tribal council. Our team won. It was very exciting. We actually asked Felix if the other team could come with us on the yacht, only because we had such a great time and really just wanted to spend more time with them. But the yacht was not large enough for all 42 people. And then they had all the staff come and speak a little bit and gave out final totems to people that did amazing on Instagram while we were away, people that really impressed the staff, people that showed excellent leadership skills, people that were, open arms to other people on the tribes, the ones that were the most willing to put themselves out there. It was really, it was kind of surreal because we were like, this is it. This is the last night. And it came and they were giving out these individual totems, and Cowrie and Kelly had the most totems of everybody on the island. That was the best. That was exciting to see that even through the language barrier, these 2 total warriors were able to overcome all the fears, all the challenges, and just crush the competition. I mean, it was awesome. So it came down to a final vote amongst the team, and Kelly was the final vote, and Kelly won the Tesla, and man, what a surprise. I think Jenny and I were both in shock.
And it was really close. I just want to throw this out. As you mentioned, Kelly and I were tied. We had 7 totems each. And I thought I had it in the bag because I had such a great relationship with most of our people there. But, I would say that at the end of the day, I think Kelly won by two votes. And I think 3 I would have won. So it was neck and neck to the whole thing. But I just want to congratulate Kelly for doing such a great job, for stepping up, and for doing such wonderful strategies. And he was really seen as a really good leader, you know, respected by everybody there. Both of you were. So I just want to throw that out. I would have loved to have won it. But, you know, Kelly and Tina, you guys got it, and nobody deserved it more. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kari. I mean, you can't tell my excitement by my persona right now. I'm still beat and need sleep, and my voice is, you know, hanging in there. It was a well-fought battle. I mean, not between you and I, but just between the elements and all the circumstances we were under. You know, I did not expect to be there. It was one of those thoughts. It would have been great to get it, but I was behind at one point. And then we had this memory challenge. And at that point in time, I was so beat. I just wanted people that didn't do any challenges that day to do the challenges, because we were so far ahead as a team. And I was not going to do a challenge. And then one of the team members says they don't have good memory. So they told me to step in, and I forgot actually that I have a good memory, and ended up getting that. It was a back and forth. It was so close the entire time. The only thing that was a total domination was, as a team, we dominated. And I think we could hold our heads high, because we had that language barrier, and within even the translation, but also within our team, and we overcame that. And I constantly, on all the trainings I go on, is tell people how you have to adapt and overcome all the circumstances that are put in front of you at all times, because if you don't, then how are you going to coach your team when they come to you with the same circumstances that you're in currently? You have to learn how to adapt to what's happening around you and find a way. And, you know, even the signing up with APL GO, you know, a lot of people will have a cost barrier. And some people will find $3,000 to be a diamond overnight. And some people have in their head, there's no way, there's not a possibility. And the truth is, when you really want something, you will find a way. And, you know, regardless of what circumstance or obstacle is in front of you, you can find a way. And between Kari and I and the rest of the team, we had to muster up the strength and stamina that we had left, because it was back-to-back challenges. And mind you, I've been through boot camp, and Hell Week is, you know, the only difference between this and Hell Week was we ate 3 times a day during Hell Week and boot camp. But other than that, it was grueling. And I'm not saying that like, oh, I shouldn't do it because that sounds too tough. No, you should, because look at all the people from different backgrounds, different, you know, there was somebody there that was what, 72 years old,
Yeah.
Kari?
Yeah.
So,
There are some really older people there.
yeah.
But, you know, Kelly, to kind of add what you're saying, I know we need to wrap this up. The Russian people have such an amount of love and respect for them. They have such adversity that they've had to deal with their entire generations of them. And so there's a lot that we can learn from them on how to be stick-to-itiveness and not complain and move forward. And they also look to us for new ideas from the West on how to grow their business, because a lot of them are just doing meetings, like group meetings. They don't know how to use the internet. They don't know how to necessarily use Zoom. So you really have this really strong culture of hardworking people that are kind of like trapped in the 70s as far as some of the methodology and how they build. Then you have the Americans who are more easygoing and maybe not as focused all the time, but we have these new ideas of how to get the message off to the rest of the world. And I think if we combine these, this has always been really big to me for this particular event. was how can we bring everybody together? Because at the end of the day, while we competed with each other, and I said this at the tribal councils, we're really the same team, and we need, if we're going to do $1 billion in volume, we've got to learn to work together as a company, which was really important. I thought we all represented really, really well.
I agree. I agree. Does anybody else want to add anything? Well, of course, we had our pirate party. So at 10 o'clock at night, we leave tribal council and Sergi says, okay, go back, shower, put on your pirate costumes. We were like, are you insane? Now we got to put on, we didn't have time to shower. We just threw these pirate costumes on, had a great party. There was food there. It was amazing. We got to have food, and I hate beer, but it was the best beer I've ever had in my whole life because it was so cold. It was the first cold drink we'd had all week long. We had a wonderful time. Everybody played along. And the next day, of course, was incredible. We got to go all day on it was like 4 hours on a yacht. There's our 4 team captains at the top right. In fact, one of the gals that was on this with us, Natalia, I didn't even know in the beginning. We didn't find out until later that this gal at the top, that was Sergi's original sponsor when he was 17 years old.
Mhm.
So they lived in the same apartment complex. So we spent some time talking to her, finding out, well, what was Sergi like when he was a kid? And she was willing to tell us anything. And we just had just a phenomenal time. And then it was time to go, and it was great. The ladies were crying and getting upset and said, we can't wait to see you. And you have to come. They all invited us all to dinner at their houses in Russia and Moldova. And it was just a wonderful time. We got to go swimming. Everybody jumped off the side of the yacht, even those of us petrified, like me and Tina.
Mhm.
Tina, she did great. She was nervous.
Yeah, I didn't even have my swimsuit, so I just jumped in with my pants.
It was a great time. And then, of course, we got to spend a little time hearing about the new Happy product. Unfortunately, one thing we did hear was that it's not coming to the USA anytime soon. That he did share with us. He said there's some regulations. They're still working on it, but they are absolutely working on it, and they'll keep us informed. But there
Yeah,
is
Tina, it's just a merchant account. Once we get the merchant account for this type of product, once the merchant account comes in, we'll launch it. And it could be as early as 3 months. We'll see.
excellent. And there is a new product on November 11th launching. It's called Air. And that's what we found out, but we don't know what that means.
That's it.
And we found out there's a new color called Beauty. It's now an official color that we didn't know about until the challenge was over. And we were like, oh, if we had known that in advance, maybe it would have been better. But we did learn a lot from being there. It was incredible. So thanks you guys so much for jumping on with us and listening to this crazy wild adventure we were fortunate enough to have. And we want all of you to come onto the next adventure. In fact, they're not sure if it's going to be next summer or the summer after, but in my opinion, start saving a little bit, put a little bit of money away right now, every single month, and because it'll be here before you know it.
Yeah, they're making individual videos for all of us. When we get those, we'll share them, because we didn't even get to, those are just the limited pictures we had. There was so much more because of so many different challenges, but I'll never forget it. I mean, the entire thing was just amazing. And I'm saying that before the Tesla, it was just incredible. You talk about being unstoppable. And if you're not now learning how to be unstoppable, because we were all that. And, credit to Kari and Jenny and Tina D and Vince D'Angelo, all of us, we put ourselves in a position to overcome some pretty big obstacles, and we did it, and we could hang our heads high on that.
So they're asking, did we try Happy? We did. We were able to bring home some Happy. It's delicious. It's kind of like a lime pear.
Yeah, lime.
Very refreshing.
Yeah.
Great taste.
It's actually banana, pear, and green tea. That's the flavor. So it's like a combination of all three.
It was excellent. And they are doing an event in Moscow on November 11th for our 10-year anniversary. Anybody who wants to come, please let us know. We are planning on attending as of right now. If you guys want to come, please let us know. We'll get that started. We do need to get visas for that. And they said they can help us with that. And Sherry asked, were we surprised we had Wi-Fi? Yes. But the problem was they had 3 Wi-Fi routers that they brought into the island. But the problem was we were all trying to use it within the 3-minute break that we had. And so it hardly never worked. So we would post stuff and then nothing would happen. And then 4 hours later, something would happen. And then, so yeah, it was crazy. And we don't know when the Tesla is arriving. Felix said he would let us know. That's all we know, but we'll surely have a big party and invite everyone to attend when we know it's coming. So thanks everyone. Love you all. We love Team USA. The way we crush it and the Panama Island is the way you guys are crushing it in your businesses. We were so proud to come home and actually check our volume and to see how incredible, what a week you guys had volume wise. So proud of all of you and love you, and we'll see you on the next call.